Welcome to the next module of Present with Impact. In this fifth module, we are going to look at how to deliver an engaging presentation. Here we will cover the details and the nuances of the drama of performance, use and control of your voice and body language more effectively during delivery, and tips to engage your audience and handle questions. Now, presentation delivery comes at the final stage of your presentation. Once your presentation is ready, it's time to deliver. This is what the practice of previous modules was building towards. Delivery is where it all comes together. So this is what your audience gets to see and experience. And what you have done till now is the back-end work that goes on to prepare for what you present at this stage. So at this point, I will request you to pause this presentation and go and watch this video titled Good and Bad Presentation. As always, the link is given in a document called Exercises and Modules, and please next to your handout, and please go and watch this video. And once you watch this video very carefully, if required a couple of times, and understand, try to identify what makes an engaging presentation. In addition to the few mentioned in the video, list more from your experiences, from the experiences of the wonderful presentations that you have attended, or some bad presentations you might have attended, or in some cases, some brilliant presentations you might have delivered. So pause this presentation, go watch this video, and then come back, and then we will continue from here on. Welcome back. So I hope you enjoyed the video and the activity was fun. Now let's talk about the components of a good delivery. So if you've seen the video very carefully, you'll see it talks about confident and relaxed body posture, maintaining good eye contact, smiling, looking at your audience, voice modulation to engage the audience, finish within time, which is very critical. It's a respect that you show to your audience. No one has ever complained for a presentation being too short. But the moment you cross the promised timeline, people start getting anxious, and that's where you lose them, no matter how much effort you put into the presentation till then. And then finally, let it go. What I mean by that is, once you've prepared, once you've rehearsed, once you've practiced, and you start delivering a presentation, you engage in that communication with that group or that individual, then go with the flow, enjoy the moment, totally be immersed into the moment, and don't let the anxiety of what I'm saying, have I prepared it properly, what's the next point, don't let that anxiety take over. So the entire communication or the entire delivery of a presentation skill is deep rooted into how humans communicate. What you see on your screen is called the Mehrabian model of communication, which was given to us by University of California a few years back. And in this research, what they found that good 93% of the communication that people do with each other is done through non-verbal communication. Only 7% is where words come in. Now that doesn't make words any less important. It just goes on to highlight that you may say the right words, but if they're not conveyed in the right tone, through the right body language, the impact may not be to the extent you want. So you may have planned really well, you may have prepared the content and done your research really well, but at the time of delivery, if your body language and your tone do not connect with the audience, they may lose the impact. So 55% of impact of our communication, or the clarity or the passing on the message of our communication, is through body language, 38% is through voice and tone, and 7%, as we discussed, is through words. So we will start by discussing the body language and then go on to discuss the voice and tone. So in this presentation, I'm going to give you 10 powerful body language tips which you can use for the submission presentation and for any communication that you will do from here on and after this training. The number one point you have to remember is have an open body posture. Open chest and open arms build trust. You have nothing to hide. And when your back is straight, you're able to breathe properly. which is extremely important. When you are talking to people, when you are at a platform where you're trying to convince people, you need that energy and you need that confidence and trust in your people. The second and a very important component of body language is your smile. Do you know that you can hear a smile over a phone? So a smile makes your audience more comfortable. It gives them confidence that they're safe, that you are confident, you know what you're talking about, and it's a relaxed space to be. The third important thing is the eye contact. Of course, the gesture of your hands and arms is important. We will talk about it in the next points. But the eye contact is what tells people that you are paying attention. And people pay more attention to listen more carefully to someone who makes an eye contact to them while talking to them. So make sure that you're not making eye contact with just an individual or a certain group in the audience, but with everyone in the audience. And that's what takes practice to do. Now, fourth point is to demonstrate your authority. So we did discuss about building your credibility through sharing your experience and what gives you the authority to stand there and talk. But that's not enough, because those are words. You also need to show your authority through your body language. And what you do is you stay calm. If you're fidgeting with your hands in your pocket, playing with your tie or your handkerchief or with your pen, pacing too fast to left to right, sweating and wiping your sweat with your handkerchief every 2 minutes. So the idea is, if you look uncomfortable presenting or talking in that particular situation, it takes the authority away from you. So stay calm, and this way the people will trust you and view you as a confident person. Walk it. Now, walk it is an extremely important point. So don't spend your entire presentation standing at one place like a statue. Neither do pace from one end to the other end of the room. In fact, move, but move with purpose. You can move when you're changing a point. You remember we discussed about transitions in the main body section of preparation. So in addition to the transitions that I discussed at that point through words, you can also convey a transition to your audience through your body language. So you discuss point 1 at one point. When you finish point 1, you move to a different location. There is a pause or a few steps away from your place or towards your audience, and then you discuss point number 2. So this shift from place A to place B, along with the shift from point A to point B, gives a mental shift of or transition to your audience, and they know now it's a different point. So movement is important, but don't move when you're talking. When you're talking, be at one place. When there's a pause, when you're shifting gears, move. And always try to move towards your audience rather than away from them. That gives them a confidence that you're comfortable, and people always like people to listen to people who are in proximity to them. The sixth point, watch your gestures, head, arms, and hands. I've heard a lot of people ask me, is it okay to use my hands? Can I, use my hands or my head? Is it too much? My advice, feel free to use your gestures, your arms, your hands, your face. We're not robots. We talk with our body. Your body language is critical. You can't see me right now, but even now my hands are moving, my head is moving. When we'll meet in the webinar, you will see. So your body, when you move your body in a certain way, your gestures in a certain way, the audience gets to understand things better. They relate to you better. Now, the most important thing to remember is that the hand or the arm movement should be in the space between your belly button and your chin. It should not be below your waist so that they can't see. They can only see moving shoulders, but not the hands or the arms. Or it should not be above your chin so that it covers your face. It should be in that area and space. That's quite a wide area for you to do a lot of body language. The seventh point is, whenever you're talking about something which is there on the screen or an object in front of them, or if you're doing a demonstration on a machine and you say, see that particular bolt on the left, point towards it. point towards that third point on the slide that I'm going to show you. So point towards whatever it is that you're showing. When you point directly at it and you look, and you also turn around and look at the screen or at that object, at the same time, your audience will follow your eyes and finger. So this is the way you engage your audience and make sure they're moving in this journey with you, and it's not that you have moved away and they are left behind. The eighth point is to use open gestures. Now, keeping your hands open is extremely important to building trust. And this is a basic ingrained human behavior. So in 50,000 years ago, when we were hunters and gatherers, when we used to live in caves, people used to go and hunt. So if something is running towards you, you would hide your weapon at the back and try and decide whether this thing is a friend or an enemy. So hiding the weapons was what was done with your hands behind your back. So that's, even though now we have moved to a totally different lifestyle in 50,000 years, but the programming in our brain, the instant reaction comes from all this old programming. So when your hands are in your pocket or behind your back, it's difficult for the audience to trust you. There's a feeling that you're hiding something or you're not sure of what you're saying. But the moment your hands are in front of you and they can see that they're empty, you're not carrying any stuff, you're not hiding anything or holding on to anything, and they can see the palm of your hands, this builds confidence. And like I said before, walk towards your audience. We tend to participate more when we have a proximity to a speaker, when a speaker is closer to us. That's more important. Ninth, and a very important element, is pause and breathe slowly. This will give you time to think. Now, a lot of questions are going to come to you, and at the end of this presentation, we will talk about some questions as well, that how to handle difficult questions. Sometimes a comment, a question, a statement, an opinion, or anything can come at you from the audience. Something may go wrong while you're presenting. What you need to do at that point in time is, first of all, pause, listen carefully, take a deep breath, take your time to think about the question, and then answer the question, respond to the opinion, address the query by looking directly at the audience or the person who's asked you the question. This shows confidence and command. So this is extremely important. Last but not the least, number 10, use positive gestures to make your audience buy your story. During the entire presentation, nod. So that when people say something, when they agree to something, they nod at you, you nod back, you build a connect. Use open gestures we have discussed, smile at them, and mirroring. Mirroring is a very important technique which I cover in much detail in our advanced presentation skills training. And mirroring is a technique which is very natural to human behavior. A very common place where you will see it on a regular basis is if any one of you goes for a morning walk in a ground, and you'll see other people walking, couples walking. You will see when they start the presentation, the walk, they're moving at different paces. Someone is ahead, someone is behind. Their body language doesn't match. But by the time they complete their first circle, if they're going and talking about something to which they're both engaged in, if they're both engaged into something very common, you will see that their hands are moving in sync, their legs and feet are moving in sync, so left hand together and the right hand together and the left foot together. So this is something that is called mirroring, which is very natural to human beings. We do it subconsciously. But if you practice and you master this art, then you can, as a presenter, show positive body language from your side. And if you've used all the planning tools, if you've used all the other body language techniques, you will be able to immediately build a rapport with your audience, and they will start mirroring your body language. So you will be open and they will sit openly. You will make an eye contact and they will make eye contact with you. And this is when your body language starts getting in sync, is when we say that we have a good rapport established, and that's a very important sign of an engaged audience. So I hope body language is clear, and I wanted to spend some considerable amount of time on that part of the presentation. We will discuss a few more elements about it during our webinar. So now let's get back to the communication model. We have discussed the spoken words, planning and preparation for it in module 2 and 3. We have discussed body language in this module itself. Now let's talk about the third most important element of communicating or delivering your presentations: your voice and tone. So there are 4 aspects of voice modulation. These are pitch, pace, tone, and pause. And all 4 of them are equally important. So pitch means the volume of your voice. So either you can raise the volume or reduce the volume and suddenly get the attention of the person. Pace means speaking speed, rate of speech. If you speak too fast, you lose your audience. You speak too slow, they fall asleep. You have to identify the right rhythm for the audience that you're talking to. For instance, you would have seen when we are talking to small children, we automatically slow down. When we are talking to adults, we speak at a fast pace. When we talk for a platform like training like this, we go at a slower pace because we want to ensure that everyone listens and understands what we're talking about. But at the same time, when you're sitting with your friends, you're in the middle of a conversation, your pace suddenly increases. Your passion increases, your anger increases, your pace increases. So if you are calm and composed and in control, you will be able to maintain your pace. In fact, it works the other way around as well. If you maintain your pace of speech, you will be able to maintain your calmness while presenting. The third element is tone. Tone is the emotion in your speech. It is the tone that tells you that just listening to that hello on the phone, whether your friend is doing well or not. For instance, your friend calls you and you say, "Hi, how are you?" And he responds, "Yeah, all good, I'm fine, everything's okay." While the words convey that everything's fine, but the tone does convey very clearly that something's not right. On the other hand, you call your friend and you say, "Hello, how are you?" And he responds, "Oh, I'm great, absolutely fine, all okay here." So, of course, the tone, the same words, but it's the tone, the emotional element that tells you that, yes, absolutely fine, everything is good with him, he's doing well. So the tone in your speech is extremely important. So when you're talking about something which is very critical, change your tone. You're talking about something which is fun or humorous, change your tone. That way you bring a lot of variety and keep your audience entertained and engaged. Last, and the most important, and my favorite one, pause. It refers to the breaks in our phrases. So you may say something like, so at this point, I want you to reflect on what we have discussed so far. And if you would have noticed, the 3 major points that we have discussed so far is, so you saw this break between these 2 phrases, that's called a pause. A pause is important for you as a presenter because it gives you time to think what to say next. A pause is important for the audience because it gives them time to reflect on what they've heard and process what they have learned so far. And also a pause can work as an element of suspense. They're talking and you suddenly pause. And the audience will go, "Oh, what is he going to say now?" It increases the curiosity as well. Now, pauses also help with something called fillers. Now, fillers are these ahs and ums and as you know, something like, as I was talking, we're talking about pauses, and what we're talking about here is, so as you can see, my words are suddenly full of words which don't make any sense, which do not have a meaning, which are not related to our content. So all these words which are meaningless and useless in your conversation are called fillers. This is what you say or you use while your mind is trying to think of what to say next. This is what is called a filler. And if you learn to practice your pauses, remember that you can have a pause instead of filler. A filler shows, I don't know what to say next. A pause shows, oh, he's going to say something next. So this is the difference, and that's how you can use your voice variety to create an impact. Some final tips for voice modulation. Don't talk in high pitch. Don't talk in low pitch. It can't be heard. Stress words which are important. Pause after the speech has ended. Speak clearly and slowly. It helps your audience get the point. Remove fillers from your speech, for example, as you know. Do practice in front of mirror or record your rehearsal and review. And I cannot emphasize enough on the importance of rehearsals. That's extremely important. So here I will like you to pause this presentation and go and do your exercise 8. What you need to do here is engaging presentations use the most critical and important communication tools. And this is what this exercise is all about. There is a wonderful TED talk given by David J. Philip about 110 techniques for communication and presentation. Don't worry, he doesn't give 110 techniques. He talks about a research where they've identified 110 techniques. What he has done is picked up the most important and the most impactful techniques, some of which we've already discussed. But it'll be good to see how he applies them, how he demonstrates them, and the impact that he talks about. So I'll request you to watch this, review this video multiple times so that you understand and you practice these techniques. Why? So I hope you've seen the video and you enjoyed the video as much as I did, and you've gotten the key elements from that. Now, moving on, let's talk about 6 delivery tips. So we have understood the body language, we have understood the tonality. Now let's talk about how do you deliver your message using the good body language and an effective voice modulation. You start strong. An attention grabber will help you with that. Sharing your purpose, why, will help you with that. You keep it short. Like I said, no one has ever complained for a presentation to be short. Keep it within timelines. It's fine to finish a few seconds or minutes before the end time, but it's absolutely disrespectful to your audience to cross the time limit. Move away from the podium. Don't keep anything between you and the audience. Anything that's there, it's blocking your rapport building and relationship. Make a good eye contact. At all times, be courteous, gracious, and professional. No matter how the audience has responded, somebody is rude to you, the opinion they've shared is extremely, difficult to handle. Whatever, the question probably comes in a very weird manner, but always remain gracious and professional. Remember, this is not about you, it's all about them. Control your nerves through breathing exercises and visualization. So visualize that you're presenting really well, do some deep breathing exercises, just reach the venue a few minutes earlier and take a few deep breaths and familiarize yourself with the place. That helps you feel more calm while you're presenting. Now, while we have discussed a lot about what needs to be done, what has to be done, there are 5 things that you need to do just before you start presenting. Right. So all that we have discussed is how you plan, how you prepare, how you practice your body language and your tone. But there are 5 things specifically that you need to do just before you start presenting. And what are those 5 things? Show up early. Reach the venue of delivery, presentation early. Even if it's a meeting, just reach there a few minutes early so that you are relaxed. You get used to the space. You check your equipment. If you're using a PowerPoint and your system, turn off your screensaver. Ask your audience to hold questions until the end. And in case there are senior audience where you cannot ask them to do that, plan enough time in your presentation for interruptions and questions so that it shouldn't happen that if you have like 30 minutes to present, you end up talking for 25 and there is no time left for questions. If you've got 60 minutes, you present for 20 minutes. If you've got 30 minutes, you present for not more than 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and keeping in time in between the time that the audience may want to ask you questions. Do not read your slides. That's extremely important. Stay on time, as I've shared. In case of online presentation, make sure you are in a quiet place. Now, virtual presentations are something which are a norm now thanks to the pandemic. So make sure that you are in a quiet place where you are able to, where you are able to talk to people and they can hear you without any background noise. And last but not the least, I cannot emphasize enough on the importance of practice, practice, practice. Nobody became a good speaker overnight. No number of books that you may read, courses that you may attend, and videos you watch will overnight make you into a good presenter. It takes practice. Just like building a good body. You will have to go to the gym for at least 6 months regularly to see the difference. You cannot go there alternate, occasionally or once in a month and then expect the result to come. Similarly, for this training as well, if you have been doing all the exercises, in addition to that, practice for 3 minutes every day. Every day, record a speech for 3 minutes. For the next 10 days, starting today, just make it a rule that every day you will come home, use your smartphone and record, or maybe in work, whenever you get time, record a 3-minute video presentation on any topic that you choose to talk about that day. No need to show it to anyone. Just sit down whenever you get time, review this. Make notes based on what you've learned from here about body language, tone, content, organization, and then the next day do it again, the next day do it again. You do it for 10 days, you will see the shift. You'll do it for a month, you will see a huge difference. You do it for an year, people around you will start noticing the difference. You do it for more than a year, it'll become a habit and you will end up becoming one of the best presenters in your circle. And please remember, the smoother the presentation looks on the screen, the more people have presented. A lot of videos I've shared with you involved Steve Jobs presentations. So one thing you need to remember about Steve Jobs, that he used to prepare his presentations, practice them for weeks before he used to come on the stage and present. So what looks so smooth comes with a lot of practice. So another important thing that we need to discuss here is how to handle questions from your audience. There's a fee model that I share especially for difficult questions. So always remember, focus on the participants, make an eye contact. Before jumping to answer the question, listen to the question, take a few seconds, take a breath, deep breath, listen to the question, and then always check back with the person. If the person, for example, let's assume for this demonstration, there is a person called Rajiv sitting in my training, and Rajiv asks me, Richa, you've been saying that I should ask my audience to ask questions in the end. What if my audience interrupts me in between and asks right in the middle of the presentation? What should I do then? Well, that's an interesting question, I should say, and that takes some time to think about it. But before I go on to answer, I should confirm that I've understood the question correctly, no matter how simple the question looks. So I can say something like, thanks for the question, Rajiv, I did hear you. So what I understood is you want to know that you've given an instruction in the beginning that you have to keep the questions till the end, but still someone in the audience interrupts you and says, this is a question I want an answer for now. So I hope you've gotten your question correctly. Now there are two responses Rajiv can give me. Response number one, absolutely correct. That's what I want to know. Response number two, not in general case. I mean, I can handle most of the people, but what if my boss or my super boss is sitting there? Somebody senior asks a question. So I mean, I can't tell them, sorry, you can't ask now, ask in the end. So I got corrected. So I know which of the two aspects he's talking about. So this is how, checking your understanding is extremely important. Next is empathize. Not always you will get a question. Sometimes you will also get an opinion from someone. I believe that what you're saying here may make sense some places, but in the kind of business I'm in, I don't think that this factor works. So what you do here is the person has shared an opinion. An opinion can be different than yours. It can come in a very rude tone, can come in a very simple tone. It can sound like a challenge. But please remember that an opinion is just an opinion. So you empathize with the person. You say, I can understand where you're coming from and I can see your perspective. And I'd like to share that. And you give your perspective. Do not be rude and, do not start your response to an opinion by saying, no, that's not how it works. Don't say that. Start by accepting the response, acknowledging the opinion, and then going on to share your opinion. Keep your emotions under check, visual or vocal, neutral or positive. Don't let your emotions overtake. Whether you're angry, you're tired, you should always look happy to be there to talk to them. And for anything that they ask you, explain their point with facts, with data, or go point by point. Use references from your presentation to help them understand, or use any additional data that might be required so that they understand what you're trying to say. So the 9th exercise of this module, the 3rd exercise for this module and the 9th for this workshop, is a very simple one. What you need to now do is that we have done our plan, prepare, and the training on presenting as well, delivery of presentations as well. Create a 2 minutes long presentation using the steps learned in the various module. Now this is the presentation you'll be submitting me as your final submission. So like the previous one, make sure it's a full body video. You can have a friend or someone record your presentation, or you can even record it yourself. Just make sure you're not standing so far away from the machine that we can't hear you. And you should be visible head to toe. Record your rehearsals and review them before recording the final presentation for submission. So don't just hurry after this training module ends and rush and record your presentation. Record a couple of presentations, see, review them, understand them. And once you understand them, you review them, you make the changes, go back to the content, see what needs to be improved, and then submit the final presentation. You know, take a couple of recordings and then pick up the one that makes that sounds or looks much better than the others. So rehearse primarily, that's what I'm saying, do practice. And video record the presentation, submit it at strategichr@zoho.com by 19th June, 10 p.m.